Okay, thank you. So I hope, sorry for the delay, there's a small technical glitch, but we managed to resolve it. So we have got about 36 participants. I hope you all can hear me. So if any one of you all among the participants, if you can hear me, you can see me, please just say hi there. If you can, if any one of you all can just say hi, then at least I know things are all okay. Yes, okay, that's good. So thanks for joining us today. My name is Arul. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yes, thanks. So we have got about 36 participants. That's a good number. So that shows that there are many people out there who are hungry for knowledge, who are hungry for tools that can make us successful. So thanks a lot for joining the session today. So today's session is mainly brought to you by HRCI, so the forum is helping HRCI to share this good news or to share this certification with the members in the forum, as well as anyone out there who wants to boost their career or find ways how to boost their career using HR certification. So HRCI certification is one of the leading certifications in Malaysia. We know there's a few others, but we know that it's always good to have something reputable, something that is well known, proven. So that is why we decided to invite HRCI. So Malini, Alicia, Hezi, Suhaila, and Tim is here today to share with all of you all on what exactly is HRCI certification. So this program is a joint program between HRCI and HRC, which is a division of 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙒. So this dual certification is open to all Malaysians, and I believe Malini and Tim will run through with you the details of this program, as well as how you can benefit from it. So I really hope the participants today, you can, please ask questions, please find out more how this could be beneficial to you. And I think Alicia and Hezi will also share the success that they've gone through, because these are also graduates of this program, how this program has, benefited them and so on. So Malini, without much ado, I pass over to you. So we have got 37 participants. I think it's a very good number. That shows that, people out there are hungry as well for programs like this, if it can help to boost their career. Yeah. So over to you, Malini.
Yes. Thank you, Arul. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for the team in Malaysia HR Forum. It's a real honor, and I think it's a pleasure for us to really introduce HRCI to all your members and to all the HR folks out there who are really eager to understand how do you keep yourself updated and relevant, right? So what we're going to do today is I'm going to provide you with an insight to what is HRCI and what do we do, a little bit about our strategic partner in HRC, our programs, and also some of the schedules that we have for the upcoming programs. And with me, we have three lovely ladies. All of them are recipients of HRCI certifications of last year. We've got 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎, who is an HR practitioner, trainer, a seasoned HR director, who took her SPHRI mid of last year. We've got Alicia Go, who is an HR manager, who also is a recipient of PHRI and MyCP. And last but not least, Suhaila. Suhaila is an HR manager from Kuantan, and she's the recipient of APHRI and MyCA. So we're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion with them on the kind of areas that they looked into and why do they embark on this journey, right? So I'm going to share with you a presentation on HRCI. And if you have any questions, feel free to put that on chat or, and then I'll pick that up as soon as we're done before we start the panel discussion, right? Okay, let's get started. Okay. So HRCI and HRC, we kind of got into a strategic partnership last year. And it's a journey that we are hoping to build together for a few years. And today, to a lot of us, I think we're all wondering, what is HRCI? What exactly does HRCI stand for? And who are they in terms of HR certifications? I'm going to talk a little bit about our strategic partnership with HRC, and also what are the benefits and advantages that HRCI certifications bring to us. I mean, you know, we all do a certain certifications for a purpose, right? I'm also going to do a bit of a deep dive on the HRCI certification programs for Malaysia, and also the program flow in our partnership with NHRC and as well as HRD Corp. And finally, we're going to end with a couple of schedules that we already have from April to May. And for your information, the whole annual calendar is already on ITRIS of HRD Corp. So if you wish to block a seat for yourself sometime this year, please feel free to, you know, get into HRD Corp and go through ITRIS. So here we're going to talk about HRCI and exactly the kind of organization that HRCI stands for. We are basically a premier credentialing organization in HR, based in the US, Alexandria, Virginia. We have been around for more than 45 years, setting the standard for HR rigor, excellence, and expertise, building HR competencies and updating them on a regular basis. Now, unlike many other certification bodies, we are actually an independent and nonprofit organization that's really focusing on advancing HR profession, updating its contents and also its capability models, and delivering some of the best in class accredited certification programs. So there are 3 primary programs. It starts with associate program, all the way to senior HR professional certification. So it's APHRI, as well as PHRI and SPHRI. Now, we are hoping to bring the GPHR, which would be an extension to SPHRI, which would be more for global HR practitioners. And we're hoping to do that hopefully by 2023. So here, what you can see is, you know, how we are recognized as a global gold standard accredited HR certification. So we are truly an HR organization that is applicable in terms of HR practice in more than 125 countries. And in all these countries, you know, they don't quite have a local HR practice or certification that, you know, goes into a joint venture like we do in Malaysia. So we're actually quite fortunate in Malaysia that we actually have an HRC that provides the local aspect to it. We have more than 500,000 certification holders in the last 40 years, you know, maintaining world-class HR aptitude and innovation. Now, this is a certification that requires recertification. So in every 3 years, you know, you will be recertified and you will have credits that's going to help you get that recertification. Now, we are also a certification that is preferred by most Fortune 500 companies around the world. So 93% of Fortune 500 companies actually employ HRCI certification holders. They actually look out for people who've got HRCI certification. And we're also 5 times more requested than other certifications around the world, not to mention being recognized. So basically, being a global HR certification provider, we look into ways in ensuring that we can support and assist the elevation of HR standards in as many countries as possible, you know, ranging from Africa to Asia to even places like, you know, South America, where people are still, you know, grasping to making sure that they have HR as a function which is professional. On a global standard, we work with lots of people out there. Our partners can be governments, HR associations, academic institutions, as well as professional development training centers. Now, in the UAE, and as well as Saudi Arabia, we work directly with HRDF, their HRDF, to provide the 3 programs, APHRI, PHRI, as well as SPHRI. And we have even translated it to Arabic from 2021 to show our commitment to the Middle East in terms of growing their HR professionals. Now, in Malaysia, I'm very proud and I'm very happy to inform you that we are in a strategic partnership with NHRC. And the aim is really to enhance HR functional competencies and to really grow the professional credibility of HR folks in Malaysia. And by that, we mean, by getting NHRC to also provide an HR certification, which is primarily adding on to the Malaysian labor, as well as from state or federal and even business laws within the framework of HRCI. So you actually have a global perspective concept, which is then complemented by Malaysian laws. So everything that you learn on the HRCI framework, you will also understand what does that look like from a legal or statutory perspective from Malaysia. So we are one of the first HR dual certification in the world, combining global as well as Malaysian. So here an overview. So for every program of HRCI, you actually also have a certification from NHRC. So whether it is APHRI, you have the MyCA, which is a certified associate professional in human resource. The PHRI would be the professional level, professional in human resource international. And then you have the certified professional in human resources. And finally, we have the SPHRI, which is then complemented with the MyCSP, certified senior professional. By this, we feel that every HR professional or every HR executive, manager or director or CHRO is complemented very well between understanding what are you expected to know globally from a global perspective, and how does that translate to Malaysian practicing HR in Malaysia, right? So that's the reason why we call it the dual HR certification. And at HRCI, we are very committed to raising the bar. So it's really about making sure that you know what you're doing this program and of course, passing the exam, right? It's not so much of getting a completion certificate and be happy with it. By this, you actually get to carry your name with that title. So what that means is, you will see Hezi, for example, 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎, who also carries SPHI right next to her name. So that's the kind of recognition you gain with HRCI. Now, you might be wondering, what is it in it for me? How different is this program compared to all the other trainings and certifications you do? Now, firstly, we are committed to enhance your professional credibility as an HR professional. But not just you, but also the company you work for, right? Because you want to make sure that what you learn, you are then able to implement and practice. Because only then business realizes what exactly HR is. Because to a large extent, many of us are still stuck in a lot of transactional work. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go away, but I'm saying you will find a way of actually understanding what are the core areas that you really want to be focusing in addition to the actual transactional work that you have to do, right? So we all know not every one of us in HR has a formal education in HR. So many of us come from all kinds of degrees and education background. But this is a way of having you to have that formal education and adherence to a high ethical standards in HR. It's also a way of renewing your commitment to professional development and continuing that. It doesn't mean you do one program and that's going to last you for life. Like the other functions out there, like the other disciplines out there, we also need to keep ourselves updated, staying ourselves relevant. Now, for those of you who have embarked on a journey in HR by default, I'm one of them, guilty. HR certifications provide you with a sound foundation to pursue a career in HR. Many of us thought we'll do something else, and we kind of landed in HR, by default. You never planned it. But this is one way of ensuring that you have what it takes to grow a career in HR. So even if you are in operations, in finance, supply chain, and you feel that HR is your forte, this is where you begin. And you begin with 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎. Now, HRCI certificate holders actually report better ways of, getting an increment, a promotion, a better career opportunity outside. So if you're looking out for a job outside, and when they see you having a PHRI or an 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼, they know what you stand for. They know the kind of certification that you've had. And it also creates a better career prospects for you. And, with the pandemic, the borders are getting very, very fine. So lots of people are working for other countries being based elsewhere. So it kind of makes you a lot more accepted by having an HRCI certification. And what does that mean for our companies? The companies that employ us. A lot of people ask, okay, so what? What's the difference between this particular certification to the others? For one, HRCI stands for something. So the HRCI letters next to your name, your organization know, right? Who is exactly they're hiring and what are the type of HR expertise they are actually having internally, and the kind of performance that they can expect from you, right? And it also means that as the higher you go up the ladder, you tend to become a lot more strategic, and the expectation from HR becomes a lot more strategic. And you need to know exactly what does that mean in working with your other fellow colleagues to achieve a business direction or a particular objective, right? And here we're also talking about, creating advantages of constantly shifting technologies, being a lot more tech savvy, being a lot more automated in the way in your approach, for example, looking at the laws that's applicable. We've got lots of updates in Employment Act here, for example. Likewise, you have that across the globe. What are the different employee needs that's coming out since the pandemic? People are feeling differently. Quality of life becomes a lot more crucial. And work environments, the hybrid work environment is becoming very, very popular. But what does that really mean in terms of having HRCI certification for an HR person? And this is a way of also getting the business community to understand what can HR do to develop a business or to continue a business direction, right? So having HRCI certified professionals also means that, you start growing the level of HR by getting them upskilled in HRCI. So that's a little bit about what the companies actually benefit. So these are the 4 global HR certifications that's offered by HRCI. Now, you see the I at the end of 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼, PHRI, and SPHRI. Now that stands for international, and that means that that is applicable any part of the world outside the US, right? So if you're doing HRCI program in the US, you would not have the I. So it'll be just 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼 or PHRI. PHR or 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑟. So 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑖 is, I must say, I think HRCI is probably the only certification body that has something for someone who's starting HR. And by this, I don't mean just fresh graduates. I also talk about people who have decided to start a new career in HR, although they've got 5 years, 8 years of experience in ops or finance. So this is the first ever HR certification that's designed for professionals who are just beginning their HR career. So you could be a fresh grad, but you could also be somebody who's had 10 years of experience in supply chain and you want to embark on HR, or you could be somebody in a multinational who's been, moved from one function rotated into HR, right? So it's applicable for those of you who've not really had any kind of HR professional experience, not just the admin. So if you're an HR executive, analyst, or anyone who's got a couple of years, either as a COE or in shared services, this would be fantastic. So to grow your generalist route, for example. Now, so APHRI is what we call foundational. PHRI is what we call the professional level. So here, you demonstrate the mastery of the generally accepted technical and operational HR principles, a lot of the HR ops work. So this would be great for people, who are HR managers, senior managers, could be a COE and then became a generalist, or somebody who really understands, I want to move up the ladder in HR. And that means at some point, I want to get to strategic, right, aspects. So this would be an area that you could actually look at in adding your credibility as an HR professional. And SPHRI, independent of where you are in the world, the credential provides a very strategic and business leadership aspect to HR. So when you are an HR director or VP, aiming to be a CPO or a CHRO, and working alongside the board of directors or your CFO, your CEO, to build that business, this would be very, very handy because it really gives you an insight to what else other than operational HR that you need to be pretty good at, right? To advise your CEO or the board. And finally, as I said earlier, the GPHR is really for those who are holding global roles where they take care of multiple regions. And this is where it validates the mastery of cross-border HR, not specific countries, but more specific regions. So these are the 4 certification programs. And in Malaysia, we are now offering APHRI, PHRI, and SPHRI, alongside with our strategic partner in HRCI for Malaysia. So a bit of a deep dive. So this is the APHRI. And what you see on the screen would be the exam outline, starting from HR operations, recruitment and selection, employee relations, comp and ben, HRD and retention, and health, safety, and security. Now, as I said earlier on, there are no prerequisites for APHRI. So you could have, you could have done any kind of degree or even postgraduate degree in another field. If you want to embark on HR, this would be a great place to start. It gives you that foundation in HR. All right. PHRI, this is where we call it the professional level in HR. And what you see on the screen would be the prerequisites, whether you're a diploma holder, you've got a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. I've said, in my, session with lots of people, I've actually said, this is a program that you want to take when you are already in HR management, because this is going to really help you accelerate. So you need to have about 3 years of professional HR experience where you've done, work where you're dealing with either HR operations or working with the businesses. And finally, even if you are a postgraduate, then we're talking about 2 years of, HR professional experience. And what you see there would be the composition of the exam outline for PHRI, all the way from talent acquisition, HR administration, and chat services, and also looking at ways of developing people, right? That whole retention. And this is an area which is actually quite popular, I must say, across the globe, because we have lots of people who are also now moving into HRIS matrix, the whole HR matrix, in making sure that you have a very decent and a healthy report that says that you don't have too many issues that you need to fix. So data helps you make the right decisions for your businesses, right? So this is the PHRI. And finally, we have the SPHRI. So SPHRI is pretty much for those who are already in HR leadership roles, where you are driving the HR strategy, the people strategy for the company. So what you see are the prerequisites in order to enroll in SPHRI. And in Malaysia, SPHRI is complemented with my CSP. That's the Malaysian NHRC HR certifications. So you can see here that even in the outline of the content, it's actually very strategic and very business driven. Whether it is dealing with business leadership, talent development and management, HR service delivery. And this is where, I'm sure many of you are in the midst of figuring out if your target operating model in HR is working post-pandemic, or do you need to shift, right? And at SPHRI, you also deal with a lot of HR analytics, understanding what is the data telling you to ensure that you make the right decisions using the data. So these are the three areas, the three programs that we offer. And of course, when it comes to GPHRI, sorry, that's something that we take on a case-to-case basis from an Asia perspective. So if there are people who are interested in GPHR, who are currently handling global roles, then we can actually put a team together for Asia, right? A simple HR career path with HRCI to give you an insight on what are the types of roles and what are the types of programs that will be most suitable for you, right? So as you can see, the APHRI pretty much, applies to lots of people who are at probably an executive level, officer, analyst. Even if you are a COE handling only payroll and you want to understand what else is there in HR, this will be a good place to start. PHRI, as I said, would be pretty much for the mid-management, where you really are involved in the professional level, with either in SMEs, in multinationals, or even in micro SMEs, for example, where you are doing multiple types of job scope, not just HR. And finally, SPHRI would be applicable, if you're an HR director, HR VP, or even a C-suite position in HR, right? Either a CPO or CHRO. So this is a little bit about the career path that you can also anticipate as you take this journey with HRCI, because it'll help you start planning the kind of role that you want to be targeting in order to reach at your destination, which most probably will be at, either an HR director or a CHRO, right? So this is this sort of helps you to know a little bit about, okay, what would be right for me if I am an HR manager or an HR BP, right? So that's a little bit about the career path. Now, HRCI has updated its capability model. This is what we call the competency framework, in other words. So HR is able to not just be functionally very sound, but also be able to have sufficient competencies when you're dealing with clients or stakeholders, and the kind of capability huddle that you can expect when you're dealing with this individual. So whether it is shareholders, to customers, strategic partners, your environment, even society, right? And understanding what is the kind of knowledge that you need to have in order to be capable in certain areas. So these are some of the areas that we updated last year to provide you with an insight, the kind of competency framework we are looking at for HR folks, right? So as you can see up there, APHRI is 100% knowledge-based, so you don't need to come in with anything, you kind of gain. With PHRI, it's a 75-25, where you need to have, the experience and knowledge of 75%. And when you gain 75%, but you come in with the capability of 25%. So it needs to be somebody who's got some experience. And of course, at 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼, it's a 50-50. You need to be an existing HR leader to enroll in its 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼. And that's exactly what it will provide you with in terms of capability and competency. I'm just going to take you through very quickly to the certification program flow with NHRC, starting with registration and HRD Corp's event module. You could either use the levy because this is an HRD Corp program. So the moment you register, they'll check your company HRD levy, and you can actually, they will use the levy. Now, we've also got lots of people who are doing it on their own, using the investments, they're investing in themselves, their savings. You could also register as an individual where, you could actually use your, the online banking, right? Now, only for PHRI and 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼, in order to ensure that you're in the right program, we normally do ask you for a profile. So we know that, this is really going to be benefiting you. And the application process becomes a breeze because it does really require you to provide insights to what you've been doing. And once the confirmation of class is provided, normally we look at a minimum of 18 packs in a class. And we have been doing it, virtually led virtual sessions. So it's online. We've had a couple of trainers from the US and Dubai as well for the PHRI and 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑼 in the past. So it allows us to take that route as well. You will be provided with study materials, hard copies of really thick books, for you to read. Now, if you prefer the online version, you also have access to our learning platform, which is HRCP. And the whole program is 64 hours. Now, we did that differently last year, where we did an 8 full days of classes, and then we broke that up into 4 hours per day for 16 days. And this year, we started with weekend classes to enable many of you who find it very difficult to get time off to attend some of these programs. Now, once you complete your program, your certification, your prep program, you'll be required to sit for 2 exams. So that's the HRCI as well as the NHRC. And for these programs, basically, we advise you to take the exam between the 2 to 3 weeks to ensure that, you're still fresh from the program. And both programs, both exams can be taken online through our exam portals. So you don't have to go anywhere, at the comfort of your home. Anytime you wish to sit for an exam, even if it's middle of the night, you can do so, right? So, and of course, once you pass it, you are certified, and there will be a certification, a recertification expected every 3 years. And it doesn't mean you have to sit for another exam, but it does mean that you will be, having the credits, collecting the credits. It could be seminars, it can be webinars like this one, where you can collect the points for being there in order to make your recertification. So that's a little bit about the flow. Happy to answer questions later on if you have any. And these are some of our brochures that you might see on social media for APHRI, PHRI, and as well as 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝑖. For your information, we have scheduled one of each of these programs every month. So please look out for the NHRC website, as well as ITRIS in HRD Corp, right? So, and you can pick whichever you want and book a seat there, all right? Just to give you an insight to the next April and May schedules, which is also available on ITRIS. So we've got 2 options now. One would be weekdays with 4 hours a day classes, so no weekends. And the other option would be weekend classes. So it would be like a 9 to 1 p.m. on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and probably 1 weekday classes, and which most likely it's on a Wednesday between 7:30 to 10. So feel free to check us out if one of the options would work for you. And here we are. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them before we start chatting with our lovely ladies. Okay, let's just get started with our lovely ladies. So we have three of them here today, mainly because they have been our participants from last year. So we started off with the HRCI program mid-year, which also became the Train the Trainer program, where 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼 was part of our program. Alicia and Suhaila were part of our programs in September, October, if I'm not mistaken. So ladies, thank you so much for making your time. So basically, you know, we want to tell everyone out there, firstly, how did you hear about HRCI, and, you know, where did you hear about HRCI? 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼, you want to go first?
Hi, thanks, Malini. Hi, all HR practitioners. I heard of HRCI way back because earlier on in my career, I took CIPD, Chartered Institute Personnel and Development, because throughout my 30 years career in HR, I was always on self-learn mode. I do not have a direct superior, even in my first job, who tells me what to do with regards to HR. So it was very much a sink or swim kind of scenario. I have to find out what needs to be done when I am being put in HR department. What function should there be? Should there be recruitment, payroll, and how do you do payroll, things like that at the very beginning. Then even in my second company, it was a big multinational company, but the predecessor or the direct superior, the person resigned 2 years before I ever joined the company. So it was very much an alone, self-learn type of situation. So CIPD helps me to harness my knowledge and competency in dealing with my function. At that time, I was put into a recruitment and training function. And it was rather daunting because I have to deal with the heads of department in terms of talking about talent management, how to develop their talent, the succession, and how to plan mobility for all this talent among the whole group. So I have to know my stuff. I have to know what I'm talking about. And that's where it started. And HRCI, I saw that in a lot of the course or program brochures or details, whereby there was affiliation of the program that I'm taking with HRCI points. And it always appeared because it is a certification body. But during that time, there were other providers, and it was not a very good time for me to go into training full time. But I'm blessed because somehow the opportunity to take SPHRI came at the very suitable time after, you know, after I have been in a leadership role in HR. And with my experience and knowledge, it is enhanced further with that program that I took last year. Right. There is never a dull moment. I learn new things all the time.
Okay, great. Alicia, how was it for you?
I'm actually not from HR.
Okay.
My previous job was actually in accounting or finance. Coincident when I joined this company 5 years, okay? So I start to hands-on HR. As in Malaysia, majority of the trainings that given is on Employment Act, IR, whereby what I'm doing now, so I'm not sure whether am I in the right track. So I started to look for educations. I actually goes into degree or some diploma courses, but all this has to be in permanent timing. It has to be a permanent student, then only we allowed to actually go for the educations. Coincident, I saw the advertisement from 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎. That brought my attention. I went into and checked what is HRCI, what is all about. Is this relevant to me? Yes, I got it. As blessed, I got that, and I managed to finish it and pass my exam as well.
Great. I mean, was it as per expectation? I mean, you know, you're right. It's actually not the EA, it's not the IR bit, but it's really about the HR fundamentals.
Yes.
Did you feel when you were studying it? Did you realize how much you didn't know, or did you know most of it, or?
Frankly, what I practice is only 50% out of the topics, and the other 50 is become like, oh, I miss a lot in my organizations. So from there itself also, I start to realize that certain things we need to implement it, and how to convince our managements in order to actually adapt the new strategies, new functions as well. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Sue, how was it for you, Suhaila?
Hi, okay. For me, I think I was like Alicia too. I actually went and dig out what are the certifications that I can do, because I do have a higher certification from the institution, but there's none for human resource itself. So when I received the flyers, I think it was a flyer on HRDF subsidizing the course, I thought to myself like, wow, this is a very, very good opportunity, because it's actually quite expensive. But knowing that there's somebody going to subsidize half of it, so why don't I invest in myself? Like what you said before, it's an investment. So I was not blessed enough to be paid by the company, but it's okay to me, because I think there's no regrets taking this certification. And even though I start from HRCI myself, it's fundamental, but knowing that I'm not from the HR background, I think it's a good move for me. So that's how I came upon HRCI. And yeah, I think it's what Malini and the team is doing is very good, because you're exposing to HR practitioners on the certifications that are available in Malaysia. So yeah.
Yes, I mean, I know you also come from HR, right, Sue?
No, I was not from HR. I was from marketing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when did you decide that HR was your career path? You know, when did you decide that you want to stay in HR?
So I was doing so many job functions, because the previous company was a startup company. So when I was doing HR function, I thought, wow, I think out of all the business, I took the diploma in business studies. So yes, I did every function that is. There's marketing, there's finance, but I'm really passionate on HR. So I thought, wow, this is the career that I think I want to end my career with in HR. This is what I think my passion is.
Right. Okay. And this is a question for all three of you, but how do you see the HR role that we have today? I mean, I'm an HR practitioner. I've got more than 28 years. Having worked in more than 10 markets, I can tell you, it's one of those functions that's so critical, and yet no formal education is required. You know, you could have any kind of degree, and you know, you're not required to have any kind of credentials to do HR. But how do you then learn what is it that you need to do in HR before the certifications? How did you learn that? How did you pick that up?
As for me, what I've seen, or my take is that in Malaysia, HR practitioners, or the perception of HR, is kind of bogged down with the level or the position that you're holding. So if a company needs somebody to do HR operations, so it's just what they need is somebody to do just HR operations. To me, I take it that is it's not going to be a very accurate perspective, or it's going to be a downfall for the organization, because with HR, it's very dynamic, it's very robust, so many changes, and as you have seen. So if an organization expect that they only need somebody to do HR operations forever, for the future of the company, that is going to be quite a disadvantage for them. So does for the individual, the HR practitioners. If they are putting themselves or limiting themselves in just doing a certain function in HR, handling just operations, and not doing anything with to specialize in certain subject, or not going into the HR leadership role, or wait until they are promoted to assume a HR leadership role, that will also be say quite a disadvantage, because I believe in my profession, in my career at 30 years, I believe that I make my movement upwards in HR. For example, like when I took certification program, I know all the knowledge there is about HR, and those are the concepts, the methodologies, and all that. And so it just need me to apply with some initiatives, proposals to the organization. Even more so, when I have reached a leadership role in HR, even more the expectation there is in terms of I have to be very business savvy and be a true blue HR business partner to ensure sustainability and growth, or to transform the organization or the business within the people agenda. And it's quite daunting, because even with 30 years of experience, you don't really know what you don't know. So with HR certification, you are being kept abreast with the practices that is done globally. So sometimes that is also the downfall, because if we keep looking at Malaysian practices of HR, you might not see what other progressive countries are doing with regards to their HR practices.
Right, right. And I guess you're right, because this is where you don't know what you don't know, right? Until you see the books. I know there the books for PHRI and PHRI as well. There's a lot of reading to do. Was it shocking for you that there's so much that you don't know, and how am I going to implement this? How's the implementation bit for you?
It's shocking but fun, because then I came to the realization that HR is a very technical field. When I look into within the area with regards to analysis and metrics, it's very technical, and it's not so much into that common sense mode, or you just do what you feel right. There's a lot of methodologies, and I'm happy to know that there's so much to it in HR, and that is where the fun in terms of applying it starts.
Right, right. And Alicia, I mean, from finance and accounting to, reading
Yes.
some of the real fundamentals, how is it for you?
Okay, from beginnings, I thought HR is only payrolls. I think this is what majority think of. But after I hands-on my current jobs, then I'm actually facing some unions bodies came into my company. So from there, I realized that no, the payrolls is part of the puzzle. So I need to learn more out of it. So this is where I comes into this HRCI, take my PHRI in order to enhance my skill. So from the training, from this certificates, also from the learning curve, right? There are certain things that is out of my mind. Just a simple talents, looking for talents. There are so many philosophy that we can actually use it, but currently we only practice one or two, which is the same symbols in Malaysia. So it's very useful tools for us to learn further and how the others are actually practicing to brought into our country.
All right. No, that's absolutely true. And I guess, Suhaila, for you as well, it's it must have been quite overwhelming initially, right? To see so much that you don't know about.
Yes, Mel. I think I always thought that there's not much thing in HR. I mean, even when I'm doing HR itself, I didn't know that there's many methods and many philosophies too in HR. So I think for the first 1 week when I was introduced to APHRI, I mean, when I was studying it, it was very, like what Hetty said too, it was daunting. I'm like, wow, there's many things that I don't know actually. And it's international level, it's different from what we are practicing too. There are things like, you know, diversity and inclusion, D&I, which in SMEs like mine, there's not many being done. And also, of course, about talent management too. Usually we just do recruitment very simple. I think it's very simple. But when I went into APHRI, what the trainer said was the most investment that we have to do is actually on the recruitment. It has to be done right first on the recruitment. So I was like really surprised. I thought the investment should be on training. So it's different. There you understand, okay, it's a different kind of standard, a different kind of thing actually. So yeah, when I went into the certification, I thought that I know stuff, but apparently there are things that I need to tune back and I need to relearn.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, that's quite true. We tend to take it easy on recruitment. Let's just bring them in.
Exactly.
You know, but Malaysia is also a country that has very clear IR rules.
Yeah.
So, you know, even a probationer's rights are similar to a confirmed staff, right? So you do really need to make sure you know who exactly are you hiring, because training can't fix it, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, so that's the other. I guess the other question I have for you ladies is, now that you've all got certified, you're all, you know, HRCI and NHRC certification holders, how are you implementing, how are you using what you've learned on your jobs, you know, in your day-to-day? How are you doing that? Anyone?
Yeah. Can I just, for me, I would, once you know all the concept and methodologies and the best practices, so in my role as a HR leader, that will be helpful to come up with transformation plans or transition plans based on the needs of the organization. I had also been a freelance consultant, and during that short stint, I was exposed to companies who's asking me about how to transform this company. It needs to have another different business model, and if within that business model, what kind of people do we put in it, and what's the strategic workforce planning, and what will be the cost or manpower cost and things like that. So all I'm saying is that the knowledge of HR, they are interlinked with one another. There's no one project that you just stick to talent management or succession planning, or without, and then you totally isolate yourself from the organizational development part of it, or maybe digital HR. Throughout my stint doing projects, I realized that it all interconnected. So having the broad knowledge of HR would give you in a better stance with regards to applying the best approach to suit the needs of the organization in whatever issues that they're facing.
Okay, got it. How about you, Alicia?
After
Is it
learning
easy to
that
apply?
stance, we started to look into the talent sourcing differences. We will raise some questionnaire out based on the philosophy. On the other hand, also I have I have implemented into the rewards on work done. Okay, some incentive scheme has been implemented based on the work done, and these are one of the parts and puzzles to actually retain our staff and praise our staff in another matter. So this is what I have actually utilized, what I learned.
Right. Suhaila?
Okay, Mel, I think I have a different approach because
Okay.
that's what I mentioned before, because I did this investment for myself. So with this certification, it's more on me exposing myself towards other big companies, MNCs. I mean, with this certification, I'm more confident to apply jobs in MNCs, knowing that I know what the international standards are. I mean, I do find I do implement one or two things that what I've learned, but like what I've said before, it's more on personal journey. So yes, it's more on personal development too when I took this certification. So I'm hoping with the certification it's going to add value to me and also to my future employer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as parting words, what have you got to say to all our colleagues out there? I mean, we've got lots of people out there who are been watching the webinar, who's probably curious as you guys were before about the program and what does it do for them. What's any advice, anything that you want to tell them? I guess you've been the number one to kick off pretty much everything.
Okay, for all aspiring HR practitioners, it doesn't it's not the way whereby you are being in HR and you're there for a few years that will give you the progress of higher level. I think what companies are expecting or employers are expecting right now is that what do you deliver in whatever position that you're holding. So the expectation from HR executives or assistant managers is there, because now with the use of technology, there's no such thing as HR doing processing work. Nowadays it doesn't exist anymore because it's all with the system, the platforms and all that. Yeah. So what are you going to do when there's no more processing work and there's not so much of that paperwork being happen? So you have to use you have to come up with, you have to be more innovative, creative, knowledgeable, be solution provider, be a HR business partner. It doesn't mean that for those in a junior level in HR, you cannot come up with initiatives and programs. For me, I put it to the test for every junior team member that I have in my department. They are even leading projects and all that. And so that's how with the knowledge that they acquire from HR certification program and how they demonstrate and the leadership, their creativity, how they're able to make quick decisions, that will be the substance that will bring them up to a higher level. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you provide yourself, when you bring into yourself all this knowledge and competencies, you'll find that HR is a very rewarding profession.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a personal goal that, you know,
Yeah.
really want to hear people say, I want to get into HR, or I want to be a CHRO in 15 years or 10 years. I must say, having worked across the region, I've not heard any university student say that, even across Asia. HR is not really at the top 3, maybe. You know, we want to get there, and you know, we've got an accountant, we've got a finance person here, we've got somebody who's worked in sales and marketing, and so I'm sure we can, you know, we can get a lot more people from other disciplines to see HR is quite desirable, right, Alice?
Yeah.
What do you think? You agree?
Agreed. Fully agreed, because in the markets, majorities, the so-called the management teams will look into finance or accounts. That is actually represent the company's grow in financially or in monetaries. But therefore, one thing that we need to look into is actually the humans, how well the human can derive the growth of the organizations. How well can the humans actually can work together to change the culture or to achieve something that has been decided by this management. So this is actually very important, that we tend to miss out, or we tend to not look into this factor.
Right.
So this is where we very important to advise our managements to see these are the things that we need to look into, and what are the functions that we need to look into for our humans or for our staff. That's my point.
Right. Sue?
Okay. I think lastly for me, it is actually up to us, the HR practitioners, to be at par with other certifications, you know, because accountants, they will have ACCA, engineers, they would have IR. So HR should have something to, you know, something to
Right.
say that we are standard, we have that standard, you know, and this is when you say that we are accredited, yes, we've been through the course, we've been through the examination, and we go through it, and everybody set for the same examination, and you know, it's either pass or fail. So it's the same thing. It's actually up to us, the HR practitioner, to get ourselves be at par too. So I think this is the one of the way for us, all of us, to be accredited, you know, to be known with this certification, so that we know that, okay, somebody with the title APHRI, PHRI, or SPHRI, we know that what it takes for them to have that, you know, it's not that easy. So yeah, it's not that easy. I mean, like somebody, people will always say like HR is easy, senang sangat. Go ahead and see whether, yes, it is it that easy? Is it that easy to implement? That would be the challenge, you know. So yes, I really encourage for all the listeners, all the people here too, to get on board, to try to challenge yourself to be accredited, because then only you know what you don't know, like what Mel said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HR to be a professional function.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, that's very important.
Accounting, legal, medical,
Exactly.
engineering. Why not HR, right?
Why not HR? Correct.
Well, ladies, Thank you so much. I'm going to hand this over back to our friends at Malaysia HR Forum. Arul, I think we've got a couple of questions. Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So there's there's some interesting questions. So let me just read it to you. Okay. So Dayang has asked this question. Given from the same, I think she's referring to Alicia's background, coming from other than HR background. So this HRCI seems to be an option to consider to amplify Dayang's HR career. So maybe you just want to say a word on it, or maybe your feedback on that, or maybe Alicia as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is. It is very useful. So it becomes a career path, and actually is a knowledge that we gain to be a professionals, HR practitioners. Without this type of knowledge, we wouldn't know where we stand. Okay. My personal philosophy is that we need to know what we do instead of we do blindly. So this is where the portal, or this is where HRCI came into pictures that lead me to the right path.
Okay. So yeah, thanks a lot, Alicia. And then there's also another one from Yamuna. So Yamuna also, I think she said, for someone with mainly HR experience in shared service, where the scope is quite specific, would this certification help in launching a career down HR? So coming from someone, HR consultancy direction. So Yamuna is currently in shared services. I think she aspires to go into consulting approach or consulting focus. So how would this certification be of help to her? Malini?
Right. So Yamuna, frankly, HR services, I'm assuming it's a lot more transactional, right? So HR operations. Now, when you're aiming HR consultancy, as Hezi said just now, you need to know how the whole HR framework works because they're all interlinked, right? A lot of, I mean, I know many COEs that I worked in the past, they were so into their own respective people. They didn't know how the others kind of worked. So I think my advice to you, Amuna, is if you're in HR shared services and you want to be in the mainframe of, HR, meaning you want to be, know how acquisition works, development works, talent management, or, even understanding comp and ben, that HRCI is going to provide you with that clear foundation, which you can then carry on, because that would be the execution bit that you do on the job. So something I wanted to say just now, it's very important for you to have a purpose when you do the certification. It's not something you just tick in the box. You got to know what is it that you want to achieve with the certification and then go for it. HRCI programs provide you with a complete, a very comprehensive competency aspect of HR, all aspects of HR, right? And of course, the Malaysian part, the Malaysian legislations, state, federal, business laws, that is then complementing that to the NHRC certifications. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, can I add a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Throughout my career, I have also attended many programs on particular topics, masterclass of job evaluation, masterclass of total rewards and all that. So, but it still makes me wonder whether I have got it all covered, whether I have got a full knowledge of HR. So I discover the programs provided by HRCI at all the level, each levels, APHRI, PHRI, and SP, they provide a full comprehensive spectrum of HR functions. And like I mentioned earlier, they're all interlinked. So when you're a consultant or going to be a consultant, you will be given issues. And you cannot really say that, oh, this is a succession planning problem, or this is an engagement problem, or something like that. You cannot really pinpoint it that way because it's never that straightforward. And so usually in a HR projects, the consultants are coming up with layers and layers of information findings and develop work scope that consists of so many subjects or function in HR, not just one. Yeah, so the best deal is to take a certification program proper that covers the whole thing.
Okay. So thanks a lot for that sharing. Maybe Malini, just one more question to you is, I know you've already mentioned this, but I would like to just repeat it again. Because I think in the group we don't have, we do not know who are participating. But, how would someone who is at a mid-career, those who are already at a high level, they may, they may see whether there's a real need. But someone who's at a very early stage of their career, or someone who's at a mid-level career, who wants to actually take a faster leap, how will this program be of help to them?
Well, mid-level will be really the professional, which is the PHRI, because you need to have at least 3 years of professional experience. And Arul, you'll be amazed when you do this program. That's when you realize you really need to unlearn and relearn, right? Because there's so many things that we do is because of legacy. Because when we join a company, normally you tend to end up following what they want you to do because that's how they do things, not knowing if that is the best practice. So most people who have done the PHRI realize that, that they really need to unlearn a lot of things in order to learn. And see, you don't probably realize it so much when you are in an organization reporting to business, because nobody is in your functional. You don't have a matrix reporting to tell you, don't do that, or this is how you do it. But you don't have a regional reporting structure. But when you get another job and you report into another HR person, that's when you start realizing, oops, this is how I did it all along. How can it be different? How can it be wrong? So to your question, acceleration is, a certification program, unlike degrees or postgraduate degrees, is maximum you're talking about is a month. So you get your exam, you do your exam. And I think most importantly is, this is what I stress as an HR leader, is whatever you learn, you have to execute them. So, and there's a lot of convincing to do in businesses where certain bosses think HR is admin, right? So for mid-level managers, if you have the experience, if you are, HR managers, HR VPs with 3 years, do the PHRI and you will be amazed. And if you don't, call me.
Another thing, if I can add, Arul, to the question of somebody junior who wants to accelerate, from my experience of conducting the class for APHRI, the junior, they attend the program, but they do not have the exposure or the experience of handling cases, for example. Or they may be more on the processing mode, paperwork mode, the junior ones. So to give them the understanding, what the program has provided to them is the exposure, because they will discuss about certain legislation, certain laws, certain policy, certain terms in employment handbook, and what it actually means. And the questions that will come up is what if, it will all be discussed there, and with answers that will give clearly things about compliance, what is the law all about, what's the objective, what's the reason why we do this kind of legislation or this law. So that will give them the fast track. They already experienced it, because in that forum, they may have heard about something, and the trainer will clarify things with them. So that would give them the understanding much faster than, so at least they can claim that, they are aware about all these things. As you know, this program is a dual certification, which is beautifully contained Malaysian employment laws, and from there, the understanding about recruitment. Now, when we go through the program, you might learn everything about recruitment. Okay, or when you go for other training program, you know how to recruit people. But when you don't supplement it with the legislation part about recruitment, then it's a bit disjointed. Here, the beauty of this program, it combines everything in terms of each of the function in HR. You understand the laws concerning that.
Thank you. That's interesting. Okay, and there's also another interesting question. I was also about to ask this, but someone has also asked. Now, what would be your advice to individuals who are already planning to do a master's in HRM? How different would this PHRI or SPHRI would be helpful in their career plans? So I guess it's anonymous, but I guess what they're asking is which one should I choose? Should I go for a master's or should I go for this HRCI certification, or how? Because both requires time and investment into it. So Malini or anyone, go ahead.
Right. I think the question is, do we go for academic qualification or do we go for certification? Now, certification programs, with exception of APHRI, is for people who've got the experience, because it accelerates your competency, it accelerates your career progression. So that's why I said, the purpose of doing the certification needs to be very clear. Certifications provide you with a lot of updated knowledge in terms of global knowledge, competencies, and updates. Now, we all do masters, we all do PhDs, we want to do them. The purpose of doing those academic programs are a little different, right? And I am by no means, I am a huge advocate of education, even all the way up to PhD or multiple degrees. But I guess certification like HRCI helps you in your day-to-day job because it tells you what are the things you need to have. And again, question is, how recognized are degrees that we have outside Malaysia, right? So if you get a degree from the US or the UK, and again, whether it is in HR or not, that's one question. But two, I think certification programs are quicker. And I think in today's day and age, you really want to make sure that you are updated and you're relevant, right? So postgraduate degrees can take a couple of years, 3 years maybe. So by all means do them. But the purpose of certifications is to accelerate growth within your current jobs. So PHRI, the difference between PHRI and SPHRI, PHRI is really for the professional level, mid-level. So HR managers, senior HR managers. SPHRI is highly strategic. So if you are already in a CHRO role, working with the CEO, working with the board, then you need to understand what is it that you need to provide or have in terms of competency to be a strategic HR leader. We're not talking about tactical, we're not talking about HR operations. There we're talking about policies, we're talking about the kind of vision you want to have for a company, long-term, mid-term, and also, when you do a lot of M&A stuff, right? So it's not an apple to apple comparison, but it depends what is it that you want to achieve at the end of the day. Certifications provide you with the know-how that even sometimes educational bodies doesn't. Because in this case, HRCI is a certification body, which means that they are also validating university programs in many countries. So you can actually do a master's program and a PHRI, So it depends, to your question, it depends on what is it that you want to do. But acceleration to career prospects, yeah, I think HRCI certifications, or any certifications will help you get there.
Okay, thanks a lot for that very detailed and in-depth explanation. I think, is there any other questions from anyone? So if no, I think we are already coming towards the tail end of our program. We are, late a bit by 3 minutes. Anyway, we started late. So I know we also have a small lucky draw for lucky participants. Fadzul, are you ready with the Wheel of Fortune, Fadzul?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. So we have a couple of gifts to be given out. How many total, Fadzul?
Currently, we have about 36 participants.
Okay, yep. So so we have got 36 participants, and I think we have got a couple of them have already left the session, but we have got 31. Yep. So let's go ahead, and the number of gifts that we have today, we have got the corporate jacket sponsored by HR Forum, and we also have some gifts from Malini's side. So this is what we're going to do. So we have got all the names added into the Wheel of Fortune. So we'll have Fadzul spinning the wheel. And then when the wheel stops and the lucky name to pop up, that person will be the winner of the gifts that we're giving out today. So okay, so let's have the wheel, Fadzul.
Sure.
Okay, so now, so this is we did this in the Women's Day celebration, so we're doing it today. Quite interesting. So let's start. So that we have got 3 jackets, corporate CEO jackets, sponsored by HR Forum, for 3 lucky winners today. So let's have the first name that will walk away with the corporate jacket. Go ahead, Fadzul. Okay, so so that the first winner is Zubaida. So let me just take a name down. So Zubaida Halib. Now Zubaida, we will be in touch with you to get your mailing address as well as your size of your t-shirt so that we can courier this jacket to you. Okay, so the next would be, who's the next? Okay, and the next winner is okay, so we have got 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼 as well. Congratulations. Okay, and the third jacket goes to yes, okay, so that will be Nurul Nadia. Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to Malini. So from the HRCI's team, they've also provided some gifts for the lucky winners. So Malini's team will be so there'll be 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎 exclusive products. I hope I got it correct. There's 5 gift packs.
It's 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎. It's actually hair products. So you get a gift, a little gift pack.
Okay, so we have got 5 gift packs, and let's see who are the 5 lucky winners for this gift. Fadzul, you may want to spin the wheel now. Okay, and the winner is, okay, so that will be Dela Robert.
Yeah.
Okay, so congratulations, Dela. Okay, it's a personal hygiene or personal care gift. So hopefully it's not a guy. Yeah? Okay.
No, it's anybody can use it.
Okay, I'm just being sexist a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
I know.
Okay, so the next winner would be, okay, let's see who is the lucky winner. So that would be Karen. So congratulations, Karen. So Karen, Dela, Nurul, 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼 and Zubaida, we will be in touch with you for details, your addresses and whatnot. Okay, so the last 3 winners. So who are they? Fadzul, who would they be? Okay, it's stopping, and okay, so that will be Roslinda Mahat. Okay, so we have 2 more winners, 2 more lucky winners. Who will they be? Fadzul? Okay, so that would be 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝘼𝙇𝙎, Muhammad Zainuddin. Okay, and the last winner, congratulations, Noor. And the last winner would be okay. Okay, so there will be Amira Izam. Okay, so I think we have got our 5 lucky winners. It's a small token of appreciation for supporting this event today, courtesy free of the HR Forum as well as the HRCI team. So thanks a lot, for joining us, and we will be in touch with all the lucky winners to get your details, your mailing details. So Malini, any few last words before we end the session for today?
Yes, I mean, firstly, I'd like to thank you, 𝙎𝙊, and your team for making this happen. It's such a well-organized webinar. So for those of you who've been there listening to us, if you have any questions or if you want to know further, please reach out to us so we can help you. And it will be different. I mean, it's not like it's one size fit all. I do believe that every individual has different or a specific career aspirations in HR, and this is where we can help you. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. And so thanks as well, Fadzul, for organizing this, the HRCI team, as well as the HR Forum team. I know we worked in the background for the last couple of 1-2 weeks. I think it was a very good session. Participants, the number of participants is quite encouraging as well. So thanks a lot for joining us, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.